So, spring semester 2012. Taking two grad school courses and this undergrad lab class for filler hours, right? That semester I had to do the visitation weekend thing. So basically, when you get invited to, when you get accepted to grad schools, they usually invite you out for a weekend, show you the campus, show you the facilities, let you meet the professors and whatnot, and decide what schools are best for you. So I applied to 8 graduate schools, right? And out of the 8, I got invited to 5 visitation weekends. They were Scripps, Indiana, UCI, Rutgers, and Caltech. The first one was Scripps in, I want to say, late February. So I flew out on a Thursday, and I got picked up by a then first year graduate student named Brian in the Barron group. There were 2 other people in the car. One was 1 year older than, a grad student that was 1 year older than Brian, and he was also in the Barron group. And there was another prospective student from Princeton. I don't remember his name. I was given a packet with like the itinerary and a list of students that were also visiting this weekend. So like on the way from the airport to the hotel, like I ended up memorizing like all the names on the list because, well, I just had nothing better to do with my time. So like I get to the hotel, drop my stuff, and then go back up to the lobby. Because like the prospectors were having, a dinner at some place in San Diego or La Jolla in that general region. I'm just gonna call it San Diego for now on because I don't really know where San Diego ends and La Jolla begins, so it's all San Diego to me now. So we're at this little restaurant, and I sit at the end of the table, and then the Princeton kid sits directly across from me, and then this other girl who was a prospective student sits to my right. She was from the University of Chicago, I think, and I think Brian sat to my left, and the other kid from the Barron group sat next to the Princeton kid to his right. And as more people were filling in, I noticed a girl walk in. She sits towards the center of the table on the other side, and she smiles at me as she sits down. And she's wearing a perspective tag, and it says Caleb on it. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I don't remember seeing a Caleb on the list. And the thing is, my memory is really good. Like, when I want to commit something to memory, it's fucking there. I had all those names memorized by the time I got to the hotel, and I know there was no fucking Caleb on the list. Maybe there was a backside that I just missed, but if memory serves me correctly, I think I looked back at it and checked. At least that's what would make sense, right? That I would do that, although I'm not all too confident that I did. Well, anyway. She sits down, introduces herself to the guy on the left who was an actual prospective student. I recognize his name, that's how I know. She introduced herself as Caleb, and yada yada yada. And the thing is, while she's talking to him, she's giving me side looks. But the fact that she's not on the list of prospective students and she's giving me side looks makes me nervous for reason X, Y, Z. So I got weird vibes from that girl, so I decided to avoid her, right? And after dinner, I had to go back to the hotel and finish homework. That was due the next day. That's just a piss poor life decision on my part because I ended up staying up until 3 a.m. doing homework, knowing damn well I had to be at Scripps 8 a.m. the next day. Well, 5 hours later. I was a fucking wreck by the time I got there. for these visitation weekends, you have to be alert and interested and coherent, and I was none of those things, at least for the Scripps visitation weekend. And yeah, so at these weekends, you do a number of things. Usually they take you out to dinner, show you the town, show you the campus. You meet with professors. I think I've already said this. And yeah, meet other current grad students in the university or institute. And one interesting event that occurred was my mini meeting with Phil Barron. He's a professor at Scripps. So I walk in a little bit late from another meeting with a professor, and there was another grad student there. Prospective grad student whose name was Noel. I walk in a little bit late. Everything starts out fine. Everything's cordial, nice, etc., etc. And then soon after I sit down, Barron asked me if I read any of his papers. But the thing is, he doesn't actually say it out loud. He says it either at a whisper or he just completely mouths the words. And, I say yes. And he said, which ones? And before I can even answer the question, he goes on this silent tirade. The topic I completely forget. But I remember the last sentence in his little tirade. I heard you were gay. It's kind of random, right? So me and Noel were kind of looking at each other with a look of sheer what the fuckery. And after that meeting, after that little tirade, even before the meeting ended, I kind of just checked out because I honestly didn't believe he gave a single fuck about who I was as a person. And again, it wasn't just him. There were also people grad students. There was this one guy from the Barron group. Forgot his name, but he had a bald head, and he seemed to just want to agree with me over trivial reasons. So, I think there was one Barron group member named Emily who brought up Steak and Shake, and I was like, yeah, I like Steak and Shake. And the bald kid was like, oh god, Steak and Shake's fucking horrible. And then the other prospective grad student kind of just went what the fuck to whoever the bald kid was, and he said he just wanted to disagree with me to see how I would react. Peculiar, yes? I thought so too. So I just pretty much ignored him, right? So the day goes on, and we have a little lunch in the main area, auditorium. Well, it's not really an auditorium, it's just an open area. And I end up sitting at the same table with Barron. Fuck. Please just don't talk to me. And I somehow become the topic of conversation for him and this other prospective grad student named Zach Brill, I believe. So, again, the strangeness just doesn't stop there. So they move away from the table to have a more detailed conversation about me, or should I say who I was as a person. And I'm putting this in air quotes because based on that silent tirade and the stuff that I've heard other people say, I am fairly confident that none of these people know anything about me and they just want to talk about me just to talk. So I just continue to stay checked out for the entire day. Well, really the entire weekend. After that day, I was pretty much done with Scripps. And, yeah. So, moving on. Later on in the weekend, we had to do surfing. And I was really excited because, it's a new experience. I never surfed before. I completely failed at it, but, it was new. It was different, There's nothing wrong with that, right? And then, after surfing was over, I was with two other perspectives and a current grad student who I think was in biology. We were eating lunch at some place in either La Jolla or San Diego. Again, checked out for the entire weekend, so I didn't really say a word the entire time. Um, so time passes. There was another event, a scheduled event for the prospectives, where they kind of go to this bar and eat and drink and yada yada yada, and all the prospectives were given two drink tickets, right, to be cashed in for, I guess, whatever drink you want. I don't really know. I don't really drink. Um, I decided, like, even if I did drink, I definitely wouldn't have taken the tickets, because like earlier during the weekend, they said that they at least one person mentioned that they were gonna spike my drinks. So just being the cautious person that I am, I decided to not take the drink tickets. And the thing is, when I was at the bar and the girl asked me if I wanted my drink tickets, and I said no, she says that we were just joking. That's not something you fucking joke about. You see, my health is actually very important to me. If you say you're gonna do something to that, then I'm gonna take that as a threat. Yeah, it was just that entire weekend was just a bad situation. Yeah, and I was just happy to get out of there. Like, even if I did get the official invite to come back, I wasn't fucking coming back ever. So the next school was Indiana University, and I liked it relative to Scripps a lot. It felt like U of I, which is, it's cool because it's a homey feeling. Makes me feel at home, right? So instead of telling me that I didn't belong here in XYZ, they pretty much just made snide remarks about my character. Which again, it's very peculiar because these people just met me. They know nothing about me. And they can't talk to people at U of I about me because I'm not a social person. All they can really say is the gossip, if you will. I even got a summer fellowship to work in the cook lab. I was really excited when I got that, but I ended up not going there. So the next school after that was UCI. And it was more like Scripps, only less intense. Meaning that I still felt unwelcomed, but relative to Scripps, I felt less unwelcomed. So they still told me that I didn't belong here, that I was going to fail out after my first year, which really scared me because at the time, by the time I started grad school, I would have already taken a lot of the advanced coursework as an undergraduate. So I would have had the necessary academic background to pass all of my courses, right? So my thing is, I was thinking that they were probably going to set me up and do something to get me kicked out of grad school instead of just letting me fail out on my own. Which, again, kind of horrified me. So, and it's not just the students that were doing this. So it wasn't just the prospectives and the current grad students, and I guess I didn't really meet any postdocs, so I can only really talk about the prospectives and current grad students. But there were also the professors that were doing this too. So I remember during the orientation, it was a cloudy day, and Professor Weiss or Weiss or whatever the fuck that guy's name is, I don't really know how it's pronounced because I never fucking talked to the guy. It was a cloudy day, and he ended up he told me that the only reason it was cloudy is because I was here. It's just unnecessary noise like that makes me think that these chemists generally just don't give a fuck about who I am as a person. So they're in my mind, they're all kind of just a waste of time to talk to. Not unless we're, exchanging knowledge or working together, So after that, I ended up going up to Berkeley because that next weekend I was gonna have to go down to Pasadena for the Caltech visitation weekend. and it was just cheaper to stay in California. So I ended up staying in the group home. I don't really think that's the accepted vernacular, but in the home of someone that I met when I was working at MIT. I worked at MIT the summer before my senior year. So I basically just, yeah, I basically just crashed at their crashed at their house and hung out with another person, another girl that I met while at MIT, in which there was a mutual attraction. So we chilled around campus, walked around in the middle of the night, aimlessly, at least that's what it seemed like, and basically just talked about whatever came to mind. And again, it's a strange series of events that occur. It seems like everywhere I go, it's just peculiarity after peculiarity after peculiarity. So quickly the situation changes. Like I remember when they were in her dormitory in a lounge. I think I don't remember what floor it was on, to be completely honest. But we're watching an episode of Heroes. And out of nowhere, she says, I just want to see your dick. You keep on talking about how big it is. If it was really that big, you would let me see it. And the thing is, I never talk about the size of my penis with anyone. Like, that is never the subject of conversations that I'm in. So, I kind of just look at her, and then she kind of just goes off on this rant. And I just sit back and I listen. Somewhere along the line, she accused me of sleeping with white women. And what's weird about that is that I'm not sexually active. She even tried to pressure me to have sex, which again is another peculiarity because I'm not sexually active and she knows that, you see. And she ended up like somewhere along the lines, like sometime later than those words were said, she ended up saying, let's see, what were the exact words? Let's get an approximation if I can't get the exact words. You know, if you have sex with me, they say they'll pay my tuition. It was something like that. And in my mind, I was like, pause. Let's assess the situation, right? So, personal identity is a very big deal to me. Like, who I am is basically everything I have, right? And when you don't acknowledge that, when you already know who I am, it kind of just pisses me off. But to make it worse, you try to manipulate me by digging into the fact that I like helping people that are in my life. See, after that, she pretty much just got kicked the fuck out of my life after that. She's dead to me now. Like, seriously, Angel, if I ever see you again, it will be too fucking soon.